Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, the cold weather, I think, is finally here. It's been cloudy. We've had a little bit of drizzly rain today. Temperature's been like 49, 50 degrees for the high. And we're supposed to get down to at least freezing, maybe just a little bit below. You know, here where we live in a big valley. And there's that creek that runs behind our house that runs through this whole valley, and that's completely spring fed. And so, because of the valley and the creek, the temperature is always a few degrees lower here. So if it's 32, the official temperature, it's at least 3 or 4 degrees colder here. So we will most likely, definitely be below freezing tonight, just because of that. Well, more crazy stuff. It's like a just craziness all the time. So today, those of you it's been your day of rest, your Shabbat, maybe you haven't kept up on everything, but today the president announced that it's possible that we will start attacking the country of Nigeria in Africa. And has ordered the military, the Pentagon, to make plans and to get ready for strikes against Nigeria. Now, in one part, at least the justification for this sounds better than other things. There has been just mass genocide going on in Nigeria, and I've talked about this in the past. I've talked to people in my circle. It's been a conversation. They estimate that there are these Muslim extremists are murdering, and I'm not to get too graphic, but not just murdering, but butchering around 7,000 Christians a day in Nigeria. I mean, a month. Sorry, not a day, a month. 7,000 Christians a month. That is just insane. It's horrible in every possible way. And the reason why I've brought it up before with friends and people is that we as believers here in America, we talk about being persecuted and all that. We have no clue. How strong is your faith, to kind of go off on a little tangent here for a second? How strong is your faith when they round your family up and they're threatening to do unthinkable things to your wife and children, or to your husband and children, or whoever, and then they're doing those horrible, unthinkable things in front of you, and maybe all you have to do is completely deny Yeshua, deny Christ, and convert to Islam. And you still don't do that. You stick to your faith. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. So, in one way, what the president is saying is at least somewhat justified of dealing with this, but dealing with it through military strikes. That's just one more thing that we're going in. I mean, Nigeria also in recent years have found massive gold supplies, so it could be for that reason too. But I'm trying not to be too judgmental on the premise of this, the fact of going in and dealing with the slaughter of Christians. It's just the fact that it's just another threat of war. Now, what's interesting is that we're starting to get a lot of these, where we'll just go in and just blow the snot out of you. That's what's happening in Venezuela. As much as the president, yesterday, I think, stated, oh no, there's no plans to attack inside of Venezuela. He's said before, alluded to, and flat out clearly stated that that's not the case, that we do have plans and that we will do it. And all the evidence shows that there is. There's something like 14 or 16,000 troops now stationed in that area. And today, it was reported that the USS Gerald Ford, our big aircraft carrier, was headed into that direction at full speed. They said estimates were around 30 knots. based on satellite imagery. And what was strange is that it was traveling fast, but yet not being escorted, which our aircraft carriers don't usually travel around not being escorted. So that was kind of strange. But it's barreling towards Venezuelan waters. So all the indicators is that we will strike Venezuela. The president says all of a sudden now no, but now we're talking about striking, Nigeria. I'm kind of starting to think that maybe it's all a big distraction because they're really planning on striking Iran, because that one is one that we haven't heard about in the last few weeks. There for a while it was all this talk and the alarm bells were going off that, we in Israel's going to strike Iran in a matter of hours, and then it just died away and everyone stopped talking about it. So it makes me wonder if that's what's being planned. It's also possible that all of this is just a big, massive distraction. Doesn't mean it won't happen. Just a big, massive distraction. And you might ask, well, what is it distracting us from? Maybe it could be this. Let me explain this chart that you're seeing. This is the reverse repo from the Federal Reserve. Basically what that means is it's money that's being dumped into banks. This is the Federal Reserve dumping cash into banks to support them. Overnight, almost $30 billion was dumped into U.S. banks to help support them. This is an amount far, far larger, many times more than what was dumped in during 2008, 2009, the big, recession, the Great Recession then. And it's about half of what was dumped in during the COVID crisis and shutdown and everything. So that's a significant amount. I mean, you can look at that chart and you can see over the last few years, there's not been anywhere near that amount. And I think it's because the whole system is just about ready to fold in on itself. What's interesting is that's what the banks are getting, but at the same time, banks are still, in fact, the news came out yesterday that currently, right now, banks are buying an insane amount of gold. Even with gold breaking 4,000 and above, substantially above, you would think that, okay, let's back off a little bit. Let's wait till it comes down. Throughout all the $4,200, $4,300, $4,400 gold, they were still buying crazy amounts. And they're still buying crazy amounts. And so what does that tell you? You've got debt, crazy high, the highest amounts of automotive repossessions ever. You've got people starting today not being able to purchase food that they're used to being able to purchase. And I know, hold on, just stop. Yes, I'm well aware that there are millions and millions of people that get food stamps that probably don't deserve it, that they could get up off their lazy butt and go work. And I 100% agree. I don't like the whole system at all. I wish there wasn't any at all. But the fact is that we've created this socialist system that pretty much requires, because of how we've allowed this to develop over the last century, requires the government to come in and at least take care of some people. I know for a fact, because just yesterday, I got a call from a friend that someone he knew, an elderly person, still lives at home, but is starting to have some dementia issues, and said that, this lady has practically no food in her pantries, and she's not getting food stamps this month, and that's how she survives, is off of food stamps. So we put together some food baskets and went over there yesterday evening to make sure that she had some food. That is actually pretty common. There are lots of elderly, a lot of disabled folks that's all that they get for food is their food stamps. You can complain all you want, you can hate the system, and trust me, there's no one that hates it bit more than I do. But the fact is that there's definitely people hurting. We've got the wealthy elites last night having almost like let them eat cake kind of parties in Mar-a-Lago. and I'm not going to get into it, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know the pictures coming out of that Halloween celebration from the president. Yeah, not very moral, if you want my opinion. But anyways, the point is that we've got this one class of people that are becoming extremely wealthy, making tens of billions of dollars. You know, all of these elites, their wealth has grown so much over the last few years. And then you've got people that are becoming poorer and poorer, harder and harder to get by. The middle class is shrinking because it's harder for them to pay for things. You know, can't buy houses, losing cars, losing homes, can't afford groceries. Jobs are being cut left and right by the tens of thousands. Banks are on the verge of failing. The US dollar is on the verge of collapse. Everything I'm saying is accurate. I mean, you might be able to make a case that I'm exaggerating, but I don't think so. Maybe that's what's being distracted from, because this planned collapse is in full mode now. It's happening. It's, you know, we've talked about it for the last few years, and I think that COVID did set things into motion. They needed another wealth and power grab, and so that was part of it. They needed to kill off a bunch of people and, you know, move forward. And that's happened. And on a side note, I don't know if you know this, but they're now recommending this season that for elderly folks, the COVID, that they need to get two pokes, two of them, double dose. Anyways, maybe that's what all these threats of wars, you know, the president goes around talking about grand peace that he's doing all over the world while changing the Department of Defense name to the Department of War and saying that it will be used as a Department of War, and also going around at the same time threatening to start wars and bomb people and start wars, trade wars, and all of this. It's disruptive. It's disruptive. And I know that so many people still believe that this is part of the plan. This is part of the plan. When so far all the things promised as part of the plan are not really happening, other than the fact that the border has been tightened up significantly, and there are illegals being rounded up, but that's almost starting to feel like that is being used as a cover to build this kind of almost brown shirt force that will just be used to stop, you know, civil unrest and civil disobedience. And for those of you that just flat out refuse to transition over to the new system that's being unveiled and put into place as we speak. I don't know. Maybe I'm too far off, but that's just what it's starting to feel like. And you know, like I said, they're up there building grand mansions and you know, building ballrooms and having, you know, insane parties that, I mean, look like something out of Sodom and Gomorrah to me, but I'm a pretty ultra traditional conservative when it comes to morality, so I guess that's just me. But yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at. And while the bombing of Nigeria and the bombing of Venezuela and Iran, and this, it was just in the news a day or two ago about Greenland. That's still on. Remember him talking about taking over Greenland? Yep, that's still being talked about. All of that is just kind of repositioning the world. You know, the Russians have talked about it, and Putin has talked about it lately, of this, you know, different type of world that's being built. The China's talked about it. Trump is, I mean, he's talking about this golden age, a new type of world, all the while that the banks are starting to fall apart. You know, may see all kinds of stuff. You know, dollars losing value, prices are going up. It's not good, right? Holidays are upon us for some of you. Well, I mean, you know, whether you celebrate things or not, it's happening. Cold weather. There's just, it's a harder time. And all this is going on. You should probably be getting ready. My wife, she actually said it today because we were talking about some of these things that are happening. And she said, is this what happens to a republic when the tree is not watered often enough that the root dies? And that, to me, that just sounded profound. You know, if you know what she's talking about. And I said, yeah, I think so. I think that the root to that tree is dead, unfortunately, for this country. And probably the only way to ever get it back, if that's even possible, is to just plant a new one. And I think most of you would know what that means also. So that means you need to get ready, seriously ready. And I know that most of you listening are pretty solid. You know, you're going to be saying, yeah, I am ready, man. I'm stocked up. I'm locked and loaded, and I got my gear, and I got the... Okay, well, then now you need to focus on spiritual readiness. Because I can tell you with absolute certainty that all of this is also bringing about spiritual warfare on a level that it's quite possible this planet has never, our humanity has never known. I'm seeing it all the time. I hear from it from you listeners. I see it in the personal, real world connections and stuff that I know of families being ripped apart and all kinds of stuff happening. Just horrible things. Things that you would never ever dream of happening, like people are doing. And I think it's just, you know, the love of many are waxing cold. They're allowing Satan to slip in. They're listening to his whispers and his temptations. So you need to be preparing yourself strongly in that area. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.